What is up, everyone? My name's Ken, also known as Wiltshire, and welcome to this video. So instead of a tutorial today, I decided to do an update video instead. Now this update video is about my personal computer rig, and this is the one that I use for gaming, recording, and editing all my YouTube videos. I also use the new lens for my Canon T5i, so let me know what it looks like in terms of image quality for the video. So to start off the video, I'm going to take off the windowed side panel on my computer case, and the computer case that I'm using for this build is the Corsair 800D. If you watched my previous build video on my computer rig, you'll notice that I'm reusing the Corsair 800D. And the reason why I'm reusing this case is because it provides a lot of cable managing room to work with, as well as the hot swappable bay drive on the front. Also, let's not forget that this case allows me to cool my computer efficiently because of the sheer amount of fans that this case can hold. And the fact that this is a full tower and not a mid tower, which means that I have the ability to use an ATX motherboard if I needed to, which means I can upgrade to an X99 chipset motherboard in the future if I wanted to do so. So with all that said, we're now going to move on to the parts inside the computer. So first up is the processor, and the processor that I'm using is an Intel i7 4790K that is overclocked to 4.7 gigahertz. To the right of the processor, you notice that I have all 4 DIMM slots occupied with RAM. Now I have 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance Pro RAM, and they're clocked at 2100 megahertz. As for the water pump that is sitting on top of my processor to cool my processor, I'm using a Corsair H100i. Sadly, the H110i does not fit in my Corsair 800D, so I'm unable to use that. If you're wondering what motherboard I'm using the Sabertooth Z97. It's part of the Tough series on ASUS's line of motherboards. I made this decision because I like the original Sabertooth Z77, however, it's looking like it's a mistake because it doesn't feature an M.2 port, which I really would like to have. Although the board's been pretty rock solid and I haven't had that many issues with it, so it's actually not that bad of a purchase decision. So that rounds off all the parts that are on the top part of my computer, so let's move down towards the expansion slot area. So the next part that we're going to focus on inside my computer is my graphics card, and this is probably the most expensive part in my computer. The graphics card that I have is an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 980. I decided to go with Gigabyte's version of the GTX 980, and that version is called the G1 Gaming Edition. And the reason why I like this version of the GTX 980 is because it provides extreme cooling with the 3 big fans on it. Also, not to mention, this is the card with the least amount of reported problems in the GTX 900 series. Also, it has the largest or fastest clock than any other card manufacturer out there. This is a shot of the rear I/O in the back of my case. I just wanted to show you guys how many video ports that this card has, and I'm currently running 3 monitors on this video card. That's all I have to say about my graphics card, so let's move on to the other parts that are occupying my expansion slots. From top to bottom, I have an expansion card that gives me more SATA ports so I can add more hard drives. Currently, I have about 16 terabytes of hard drive storage, mainly because I record in lossless format, and that requires a lot of storage space. Below that, I have a sound card, which is the Creative Sound Blaster ZX. Now, I know what most of you are probably thinking, and that is that your motherboard comes with a built-in sound card. However, I am an audiophile, and I like to listen to lossless music as well, and I would like a sound card that can drive the lossless file to its absolute best. Below the Sound Blaster ZX is an Ethernet card that supports 10 gigabits per second, and that is the Intel 540-T1 Ethernet card. I use this Ethernet card to connect 2 PCs together to share files. I actually have a second PC which is mostly dedicated to streaming and recording my videos. That PC is also equipped with the same Ethernet card to give it an optimal performance when copying and reading files. Those are all the expansion cards in my computer, so let's go ahead and move down towards the power supply area. Now, I've switched out my power supply from the Ultra X4, which is now in my recording/streaming computer, to a Seasonic Platinum 1000 watt power supply that is fanless. Since we're on the topic of the power supply, I might as well go ahead and open up the other side panel on my case and show you guys the cable managing that I somehow managed to do. Now, I'm definitely not an expert at cable managing and making my cables look neat. However, on this side of the computer, you don't see all the cables, so I just decided to route them as best as I could without trying to get them tangled up with each other. The cable managing is still a lot better than my very first computer that I built. With that said, I'm just going to go ahead and put the side panel back on that side of the computer so you guys don't have to look at that horror show that is my cable managing skills. That's pretty much everything for the inside of the computer. Now, if you have the Corsair 800D, do note that this is a very heavy case, and to move this case is not easy. If you plan on building a computer with portability in mind, definitely don't choose the Corsair 800 or 900D cases because they're really quite heavy and very hard to move around. There are very few things left for me to cover on my computer. The last few things are on the outside of the case, so we're going to start focusing on the front face of the Corsair 800D. Unfortunately, when I recently went to install Windows 10 on my computer using a USB CD drive, I ended up burning out the fuse or the capacitors on my USB 3.0 ports on the front panel of my computer. So I've ended up having to add them back in using an expansion slot on the CD drive bay. So what I ended up doing is using a Silverstone adapter with a brushed aluminum finish to match the front of my case, and I used that adapter to fit the floppy disk sized USB 3.0 ports, and those are made by Vantech. And that solution seems to be working quite well actually, and the USB ports work beautifully. Last but certainly not least is the hot swappable bay drive. Now this bay drive houses 3 of my 6 hard drives. Now I have 2 hard drives in the lower part of my computer, and you can't access them without removing the faceplate of the front panel of my computer, and I did not do that for this video. However, those hard drives are both 4 terabytes each. One is in my CD drive bay area, but you can't see it, and that is also 4 terabytes in size. The 1 terabyte hard drive, which is in the hot swappable bay drive, is for Steam games, and I have 2 SSDs that are in RAID 0, and those are both Intel 730 series SSDs, and they are 240 gigabytes each. So that is my computer in a nutshell. Now, if you guys like this video, hit that like button below. I'd very much appreciate that. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button below as well. Again, I would very much appreciate that. Let me know how the new camera lens looks in this video. I'd very much like to know. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.